All right, guys. Hey there. Welcome to the 405 report. Starting a little late today, but the market was so busy. Had to go take a break before I hopped on here. Yesterday was our first 405 report. Didn't do any trades, but I shared a lot of good info. And after it, I was like, man, I shared a lot of good info on how to avoid, chop and bad trades. But I'm like, man, the market needs to give us a good opportunity. And today we got it. So just to recap, should go to the SPX. Friday, big day. Yesterday, chop. And today, so if we zoom out, where did we close yesterday? So yesterday was the 27th. So we closed right around 3,900. I think we closed like right here-ish. And then overnight, we kind of, tested 38.85. We rallied most of the night after that. And then right at the open, I'll zoom in a little bit, right at the open, we surged off the open and went right to that 39.50 high that we had from yesterday. Was it? Yeah, yesterday, actually, not even yesterday. It was yesterday during overnight hours. So we never even saw that during the day. So I said before the market opened that was kind of the resistance, also 39.60 area. So right there. Also, if you look, so the SPX or ES hit the weekly highs, but the NASDAQ at the open didn't even. So that kind of told me that the NASDAQ was a little weak, which was an interesting sign. But whoops, that's not what I want. This the other 5 minutes. But let's zoom in and talk more about what happened. So the setup was resistance up here. We had 39.20, 3,900, mostly 3,900 was the main support. And then 38.55 was a big level. So right off the open, I don't know what happened here, but we took off and then hit 39.50. And I'm just like looking at this. I'm like, this is unexpected open. I don't really know what to make of it. I was like, maybe we'll get I said right now the trend this morning was still up, buy the dip, supports haven't broken. I usually am very hesitant to be looking to sell the rip or buy puts. I'll try to explain what I saw or what I felt. It wasn't very obvious, at least not to, I think to a sort of a lesser trained eye. The NASDAQ was a little weak. I think we had strength because the banks gapped up. They had, I think, was it like dividend or repurchase? But basically, after they passed the stress test, they're allowed to like give money back, I think. So they gapped up. So I was like, okay, we're up because of the banks, we're up because of energy, but honestly, looking at the NASDAQ, we were barely up, and the tech looked weak. And I was thinking, well, all we need is the XLF and a few other things to dump. And also this morning, whoops, that's not what I'm looking for. The DAX. Also this morning, during the early morning hours, from like 6 until pretty much after the open, the DXY, the dollar, started surging, and I was like, that's why I have these on here, dollar and bonds and stuff. I don't look at it like on a minute by minute level or that kind of. That's why I have this on the 30-minute chart. But I'm like, I don't know too much about the dollar, but I'm like, that's a pretty big move in a short time span. Usually that's not good for the market. Just a pattern I observed. I don't understand foreign exchange and all that stuff well enough to tell you guys the details, but so I had some signs that things looked a little weak. Also, the VIX was kind of making this level, this quick drop, and I was like, if we can get the VIX to rally as well. So I ended up getting in the 39.10 puts a little early. I think I got in probably on this drop here. I thought, it'd be like, sometimes I like to say when it pops really quick, it can drop really quick. And you can see here, there really wasn't much of an obvious pattern. It was very short. And I said before that it's not as strong when patterns, are smaller time frame. But there was a little bit of a, I guess, rounding top or whatever you want to call this. But you had a little time to get in, but there really wasn't an obvious point. But I just felt like we were going to be hard pressed to break above. I just feel like if we were to have a good up day, I would have preferred a gap down open or a drop on the open than a rally. I just felt like another straight rally just didn't make sense given the dollar, NASDAQ being weak, and we were up mostly because of like banks and energy, which are not the great leaders for the most part. So anyway, got the 39.10 puts at 6. It was a little early. They went down to I think 4.5 and 5. They were 5 for a while, so it was a little bit annoying that I got in early. But you know what? Had I waited until maybe here, somewhere around here for, I guess, quote unquote confirmation, if you want to call it, they were probably 6 anyway. So that's kind of my logic sometimes is a lot of times in this market, it doesn't give you a chance to get in. Like I've seen plenty of times either rallying off the open or dump, reversals where it doesn't give you more than 5 to 10 minutes to get. It doesn't give you that perfect entry. So I was like, I might miss it, here waiting. So I was like, you know what? Worst case scenario, we get up here and I just cut for a loss. It's not a big deal. So I got in, started working, and my target was 3,900. And that being, as you can see, here, not only was it a big level from Friday and yesterday with the chop day, but it was also not a huge gap up, but there was a gap fill here. And remember, up until this morning, the trend was up. I had no reason to suspect that we were going to drop this much today. So, in that sense, I'm playing counter trend, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to take profits at 3,900, and they went 6 to 19. I knew they were going to be 19, and I think I've showed this before, but I'll briefly, I can move this over here. I'll briefly show you why. Basically, I mean, this is going to be ridiculous, but I'll try my best since the everything's closed and whatnot. Basically, what happens is, say I look at a strike. Ignore these numbers. Say I'm looking at the 38.10s instead of the 39.10s. And the 39.10s I got at 6. And my target is 3,900, which means or let's say 3,800 for this example. If my target is 3,800, we're at 3,850, and I bought the 38.10s, and my target is 3,800. That means I'll be 10 in the money. So when I buy it, I'll look at if we're at 3,850, then I'll look at the 3,860s, because those, when I buy them, are 10 in the money. And whatever price that be, that's about how much, depending on how fast we go. If we drop really fast, and I've shared this on my webinars before, so you can always go back, but depending on how fast we drop, you could get about that same amount. If we drop slower, you're going to get less because time is running out. But at the time, when I got the 39.10s, and let me get rid of this for a second. When I bought the 39.10s and we were still up here, I was looking at the 39.60s because they were 10 in the money at the time, and my 39.10s, if we get to here, would be 10 in the money, and the 39.60s were 19. So that was kind of my target, 16 to 19, 15 to 19, depending on how fast we drop, right? So, we drop. It's starting to work, and then I don't remember exactly where I sold, probably, I would say maybe here, somewhere around here. And I got 19, I think I was right here. I think I got 19 and a half for them, which was great. I think they might've went to 20 or so, but it was a great sell. It was a great sell. It's 3X, I did not expect this, I was like, the trend is still not terrible. We could still bounce here, I just wanted to, I was playing counter trend, I think I would say very few people could have really made an argument for all this and actually knew what they were talking about. Of course, you could have just been bear biased, but I don't know many people that would even have made this entry. So I feel like getting out here was good. I feel like I was being greedy, and maybe I get chopped up. So sold here. I thought about I was hoping for maybe a bounce to get back in, but this kind of just was like a pretty standard bear flag, drop and then bear flag. And I thought, at various points, maybe in this candle around here, I thought about getting puts for my next level, 38.55. Ignore the 38.85. It was an overnight level. It's a small level, but for the most part, I was looking for this. But the issue was, I was like, well, what if we have a fake breakdown? Because the trend hadn't really broken yet. Yeah, we kind of failed the gap up, but I wasn't still convinced, I guess. So maybe that was to my detriment today. But I wasn't convinced that we were going to go all the way. I thought I didn't want to be faked out. I had good profits. I made enough profits not only for the day, but for the week. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to chase. And then this dropped. And look, it hit right around my 38.50, 55 area. So that would have been fun. The 6 to 19 would have been 6 to 60. But my experience has been trend days, especially to the downside, are even in this market are not as common as you may think. So I like to keep going for doubles, and I feel like the days, I know there were times where I tried to hold for a trend day and get chopped up and give up, premium on a bounce and whatnot. So I was just sort of following my plan. So then we hit 38.55, and I thought this was going to be a pretty big level. Another kind of bear flag, kind of thing. I wasn't really, once we got to here, I was thinking, and I've been saying all week, 38.55 is sort of my first line in the sand. Before I start turning more bear bias in terms of the price action, in terms of selling the rip and not buying the dip. Also, I mentioned 3,800 area, but this was kind of that first level where I'm like, ooh, I shouldn't be buying the dip anymore. So when we got to I think when we got to right around here, I was like, well, two things are going to happen. Either we're going to probably head all the way back to 3,900, and this was just a blip. We get a little buy the dip scare, or it's gonna be a bad trend day, especially because we went up and came back down, and we're gonna head towards 3,800 or low 3,800. So I ended up buying both, but I bought the 38.85s and the 38.40s. And normally I don't do this. You'll rarely see me do this, but I was pretty convinced that we weren't gonna chop, because if we're gonna chop, then that's just terrible buying both ways. But I was pretty convinced it was gonna go one way or the other. So my logic was, and the premiums weren't that expensive. A few months ago, those would have been so expensive and I wouldn't have done it, but they weren't bad. 38.85s were 4, and I got the 38.40s for 3.5. My logic was, at some point, we'll know which one's working, and then I'll just cut one for a small loss and hold the other one for a big gain. And that's basically what happened. I think I sold my calls probably around this candle, once I thought that, okay, it looks like it's kind of really, because, even right here, maybe if it goes up from there, but I was pretty convinced here. So I sold my calls for a $2 loss, and then held my my puts, and I was looking for, well, ideally I was looking for 3,800, but I was like, I think 38.35 or 38, somewhere between, what is this level, 38.17, somewhere around here we might find support. So I ended up selling my puts for I think I took some profits on this push right here. I sold half at 8.5. And then on this push here, I sold some at 14 or 14.5, I think. I think they ended up going to 20 or more. But honestly, say I held to here and then this rip happens, I would have probably sold here and I wouldn't have gotten more than 14 anyway. So that was kind of my logic for selling around 14 was, okay, maybe it goes to 3,800, but I don't think it's going to go there direct. And any push, I'm not going to get much more anyway. For all we know, we bounce sooner. So that's why I sold that. And then before I get to the end of the day, I will mention, before I forget, I had it open here. I did buy Qualcomm in the middle of the day. I think it was in between when we were kind of chopping for 2 hours. I did buy. Qualcomm had some a rumor or a news that basically Apple was developing, I guess Apple's been trying to develop their own chips, and maybe they had a setback or something. So that's good for Qualcomm, because Apple's been using them for years. So we had a surge on the news, and I was a little late to the news. One, because I was looking into it, and I was focused on the SPX. But I got in around this sort of flag consolidation area right here. I was like, I'll get the 135s, and I played them for a quick double kind of play. We got up to here, and these are not good. This is a 1 minute chart. I usually don't watch 1 minute charts, but but if I show you the 5 minute chart, you're not gonna see any of this. It's just, this is kind of what I saw in real time, even though I was looking at the 5 minute chart. So these candles weren't good. So I got out here. Plus I was like, I need to focus on SPX again. So I got out for a quick play, but I just wanted to show you that I did play Qualcomm. It's kind of a sentimental play for me, because it made me a lot of money many years ago. Once it was like a big 10 or 20x play back-to-back days. So anytime Qualcomm has Apple news, I'm kind of sentimentally tied to it. But anyway, we get to the end of the day. So now we're in the last couple of hours. We chopped a lot here, and then we really chopped here. And I was like, okay, well, I don't think we're gonna rally. If we rally, we usually would have started rallying between 250 and 330, but that doesn't look. I was like, we're not gonna get a rally. Maybe we pin here, but I was like, you know what? We're close enough to 3,800 that I'm gonna play the 38.20s. And here's where I don't know if I want to say I made a mistake, but it was more of just I made a decision, I guess. When we were around here, the 3830s were 5, and the 3820s were around 2. And my logic was this: okay, if we get 3800s, my 3830s would be 6x, but my 3820s would be 10x. I'm like, that's a decent enough difference. I'm getting a little greedy. I have profits, but you know what? I'm gonna do it. Guess what happens? What do we close at? I don't even know. 3820-ish area. Had I had the 3830s, I would have been slightly up, not quite a double, but obviously my 3820s expired worth it. So that was a decision that I had to, I was like, either do I go for kind of a home run or do I go for, a safer play? And that depends on the premiums. It depends on how much profits you have. I had good profits, so going for a home run wasn't the issue. If you didn't have profits, then you probably don't even want to make it in the day play. And I was like, okay, 6x versus 10x. We were already pretty close to 3820. So I thought it was worth it. I would have preferred a bit more of a rally to fail, and maybe that's why that was a signal why it wasn't going to work, because we didn't really have that rally to fail. So that's something I'll look at later to see if I did technically make a mistake, or it just didn't work out. So I haven't had time to think it through since I just started talking to you guys. So that's that. Let me see if I'm missing anything else. Looking forward to tomorrow. So we have closed right around the 38.25 area. So zooming back out again, I'm not sure if this is the start of the next down, or if this is just, hey, from Friday we went up way too fast, there wasn't much volume, and we're just trying to trap bulls and maybe trap bears tomorrow into the end of the quarter. I don't know, but what I will say this: I've said that 38.55 was my first sort of warning level, but the line in the sand, the absolute line in the sand, is about 3800, where these two purple levels are. And what that means is, if we get a good bottom here, then sure, I'll play it to 38.55. And if we hit 38.55 and not only hit it, but we go over it, hold it, and rally, then okay, then the bull is back in play. But really, I'm looking for this to hold, and then I'm not going to be greedy. I'm just going to play this 50 points. We could be in a scenario. You see these yellows. I don't really buy the yellows. We could see a scenario where we fake breakdown, and then we go up. And if we reclaim and hold the 3800s, then I'll buy it again. But if we for some reason say we gap below 3800, like we're down here at the open, that's probably not a good sign for up. That's probably a good sign for more down. So it depends on sort of overnight action, where we open, and kind of the early action. But this is kind of line in the sand for the bear bull line, and this is kind of in terms of at least the next move. And then this is the line for like sort of longer. Are we just going to get a bounce and fail, or are we going to get a resumption of the uptrend? So that's kind of the setup going into tomorrow. Any questions before I wrap up? Let's see. What's my plan for tomorrow? Okay, so I think I just, when did you post it? Yeah, I think I just covered that. If you have a follow-up question, that's great. Hassan, I see you raise your hand. I'll unmute you in a minute once I cover Rolando's question. But yeah, that's kind of where I am. I don't make predictions like that, because it depends on where the overnight action is and where we open, how we open, basically what's the overnight action, how we get there, are we going this way? Are we going chopping? We have so many different scenarios I can't cover in all this time. And then where we open and what kind of the action is in the first hour. Are we breaking down and reclaiming? Are we holding and bouncing? Those are the bullish scenarios. Or are we, maybe we open up here and fail, or maybe we open gap below and fail. So it just depends on where we are relative to the levels and how we get there. We got a lot of hands raised, so I will unmute Hassan first. You have to unmute yourself if you have a question, Hassan. I just gave you an opportunity to unmute yourself.
Hey, Kevin. Great job today. I think you obviously, had a lot of great plays. This is Hilias from TPTR. And,
nice.
But just wanted to ask you, like, what made you take the first play? I know I was busy at work today too, but I know you had said it was counter trend, and maybe I missed it. I joined a little late, but what made you take the first play? Because it was kind of like against the run there.
Okay, so you said you joined the webinar late, right?
Yeah, just a little bit
If
late.
it's okay with you, I'm going to. I think you might have missed it, and so I don't want to cover that because I'm going to repeat myself for everyone else who is here. So go back and watch the recording. Sorry, I want to be
No problem.
time
I'll do
time
that.
conscious. But the good question. But yeah, go back. I said that at the beginning. Rolando, I'm giving you the opportunity to unmute yourself. Do you have a question?
Yes, thank you very much, Kev. First of all, thank you for the opportunity and what you do. I think your posting today was very encouraging and wonderful. Yeah, for sorry about the first question, because normally we know it's kind of rough to say exactly what's going to happen tomorrow because things can change. However, what I really want to ask is that can you post? I know you're gonna start your program, monthly program and stuff, but can you post your plays moving forward, at least some of your plays moving forward, so we can also Twitter? Yeah, on Twitter.
Okay, so yeah, that's a good question. I've had this question before privately, so this is a good opportunity for me to address it. Unfortunately, I have no plans on doing that. I'll try to give a number of reasons for that. First off is I am in the power trading room. For those who don't know, there's a room that's called the power trading room. I'm following them on Twitter. I am in that room where I post my live plays. The issue with that is Twitter only allows me 160 characters. And when I post a play, I don't just post a play. I post a lot of commentary for those that see me, right? And I don't want to just write the entry in with no commentary, so folks are just kind of blindly following. I have no idea. They won't be able to learn why I'm making the play. So because I've seen plenty of services just kind of post trades, but you're not really learning that way. The second thing is just honestly, I don't think I can do it. I can't focus on my trade. I'm providing commentary to other rooms that I'm in, and worrying about. I'm gonna mess up. That's too much for me to do. So I will be offering sort of a monthly subscription going forward, where that covers the videos, and where I'm teaching people. I'm doing a lot of teaching. I want to focus on teaching. Because hopefully over time, watching my videos, you'll learn more how to identify different things over time, just like I did. It took me many years. But running, posting my plays, whether for free or running a service, is just not in my plans. I will never say never, but that's a big responsibility and commitment for me. Mental commitment. I feel like if I post plays even publicly on Twitter for free, I'm gonna get so many messages. I already do. When I post it, people are DMing me. It's not something that's going to be fair to me or anyone who already benefits from my friendly offer. It's not going to be good. I'll put it that way, if you can understand that. But thank you.
No, that's good. Thank you very much, sir.
Yep, and Steve, I'm going to give you the opportunity to unmute. Hello, Steve.
Yo, hey, Kevin, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Hey, on the just a question on the Qualcomm trade. So I noticed I think when you took it, it had already kind of moved a little bit. The IV was still like 50%. And so what's always curious to me is like, we'll gap up, the algos hit it, and then we'll come back to like the first fib. And then what I struggle with is like, okay, is this going to keep going? Right. And because sometimes it just kind of fades off and it just goes sideways and you really can't make anything. But that ended up going a double. So was there something other that you saw mechanically? I know you said you did really well on it before. Maybe that's just the answer and we'll leave it at that. But that kind of had me hesitate to like load again. And actually
so it's a good question. So a lot of times when you get like a news or a rumor that gets posted, it's exactly what you'll say, where we get that first push or maybe even a second fake push, and then we just drop. And to me, it depends on the quality of the news. Well, two things: the quality of the news, and also is it confirmed. So what that means is the quality of, you'll see plenty of things where it's like, whatever company is starting a new partnership, like Roku's starting a partnership, or Datadog's starting a partnership with Microsoft, or Roku, some kind of news, where you have to decide, okay, is this news actually meaningful to like their future revenues, or is it just, the classic one over the years was the Boeing 733 Max is gonna we're doing a test flight, or you know, the 733 Max is, I don't even know when that first started, but that was such a tease for years, where Boeing would always pop on some 733 Max rumor, and then they would just immediately drop, because everyone knows at this point Boeing has been such a crap company, and in terms of, you know, managing that whole fiasco, that like that hasn't really been much of a play. But so as it relates to Qualcomm, I think it was more of a rumor. I don't think it was like necessarily a confirmed news. So that was a little bit of a detraction. But if the news was true, the fact that Apple had issues with their chips that they were developing, which I think they were starting to move away from Qualcomm, I want to say next year or soon-ish. So that could potentially mean when Qualcomm was looking at, you know, loss of future revenue, that revenue might be back. The base case was not expecting that revenue, right, at some point in the future. I don't have all the details because I haven't looked into it like that, but I know that Apple was trying to move away from Qualcomm, and if they suffered a setback, and that's good for Qualcomm. But yeah, this was, you know, I definitely got in late. It's not like I got in here, you know, and so the premiums were definitely bigger. And I don't watch Qualcomm. This was just one of those, hey, this news looks okay. Let's see if it does like some crazy move. And so once it kind of was starting to fail here, and also, like I said, today was a big SPX day. The market was, if it was a different day, a slow market day, maybe I'm focused more. But I was like, you know, played it for a quick double. I don't really know too much about the news. I don't watch Qualcomm's levels. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty in my, I guess, a lot of holes in my knowledge that I wish I would have to understand this play better. But I was like, you know what? You know, this was a nice little second push, and you know, it was, so if you wanted to avoid it, or you had reasons to avoid it, or you weren't sure, that's totally fine. Like you said, like if you're not sure, or you thought maybe this was a pop and drop case, totally fine to avoid. It wasn't. I only got a 2x. The premiums were expensive. It really was just me being like, you know, I think that it might be something here. But once they kind of started dropping, I was like, I'm getting out. Let's see. I'm gonna go to some chat questions here. Let's see. Do I actually use the EMA clouds? Oh yes. So I do have clouds, and I do have VWAP here. It's something I've only started adding recently, past few weeks or months. I primarily just look at the action. Sometimes the clouds or VWAP are helpful. You know, VWAP for maybe a reversal rejection point or things like that. Clouds, I feel like the clouds are most helpful when we're chopping. Like if we're chopping, the clouds kind of save me from entries because the clouds are not giving me anything. But a lot, like today, I honestly didn't even, I glanced at the clouds time in the VWAP, but it's more of a confirmatory or negating indicator. It's more of like the clouds are also in my favor. Okay, it makes sense. It's not something where it's like, oh, the clouds and the clouds only are telling me something, and I'm gonna get it. No, it's just something I've been adding that I've seen might work. I guess I just haven't quite had the time or the sample size to really do much with them, which is why I don't really talk about them, even though they're on my screen. So I can't really say too much about that. I don't like talking about something I don't know too much. Next question: how often do I adjust your intraday lines and wedges? Trend line afternoon, this one. Or are you adjusting? Yeah, so it's basically how do I draw this and adjusting and different things. Okay, so yeah, it's a bit of an art because you don't want to start drawing too early. I know one thing, it's like I don't want to start, once I kind of see something that looks pretty clean, I'll start drawing. Occasionally, yeah, I'll adjust my lines. Like for instance, if we go to Friday, I kept having to extend and draw these lines because my entry was way too early, and this sort of you can't really see it, but there we go. You know, I had this kind of rising wedge or whatever. You know, I kept having to extend that line, so I do exchange it here actually. So to go over some of my lines, I actually didn't even have this line. This I drew like after the fact for your guys' benefit, that maybe this was something there, but I didn't even, this was just to me like a rounding top and kind of the things I said earlier that kind of give me NASDAQ, NQ being weak, you know, dollar being up, you know, so the things I talked about earlier kind of gave me a sign. This was, you know, pretty straightforward, you know, especially with where we're right at the 3,900 support. So that's a good place to draw. You know, I'm not going to start drawing it here. I'd probably start drawing it, you know, not that much sooner. But yeah, this was a good one because we were right at support. And this one was nice because, again, we were right over support again. And this one kind of took a little more time. You know, I'm not, you know, as of right here, I was saying, oh, maybe we get a double bottom or a higher low or inverse head and shoulder. That's why I bought both ways. I wasn't sure, but I was sure we were going to get something. So I didn't draw anything until we probably get up to here. And I'm like, you know what? Then I drew this, and then, you know, that. And then here, oops. This, you know, again, I drew it, you know, way later down because I'm not focused on something that's happening in 20 minutes. This was what? Pretty much an hour. And then this, I thought maybe we would get one more push, which we didn't. But yeah, you know, I do adjust them from time to time, but if I'm doing a lot of adjustments, that means probably I drew them too early when they were less clear, or like Friday, I just was way too early and we were chopping. So that's about as best as I can give for that answer. Another question: when something like your wedge or flag breaks, when do you decide to enter? So that depends. There's not one way to do it. Here, if you recall me saying I didn't want to chase because I wasn't sure the trend was going to flip from up to down yet. Here, you could have done a number of things. I mean, you could have entered higher for cheaper or lower for more expensive when it was more confirmed. So it's up to you. You're going to pay more and make less, or you can pay less, but what if we chop? Or, you know, it's a decision. It depends. So that's why I didn't even make this entry, because it was kind of iffy right at support. You know, like I said earlier, we could fake and, you know, break up. This was pretty nice. I think I got my puts either on this candle and this one was pretty nice because I was like, okay, we're chopping around lunch hour and we're getting close to 1 p.m. when I thought we could have a move, and look, the move happened pretty much around 1. Nice little bear flag. So yeah, here, you know, you don't want to get in, like, I got in calls here because I thought maybe we get that symmetrical push up, which we didn't. And then I was like, well, the puts are cheap because we're going up, so let me get the puts as well. So that kind of determined that. Like, I wanted this green to get above, basically get above here fast. Not this line, I mean like kind of this level here. But since we took forever to get there and it was what looked like maybe a bottom, suddenly became more and more of a bear flag, you know, so I was more convinced of that. Here, this would have been a nice entry. I missed this one because I was already in the position. I didn't really want to add, but this little, phew, look at that little wicked little, I guess, bull trap that right to the line and rejected. Man, that would have been a nice entry once it went up and it started going back down again. So that was a nice one. And then here, you know, didn't work out, so I'm not really going to talk about that one. Yeah, I don't usually do both sides, and a lot of times it doesn't work out. I just get chopped up, but I just felt like today was the day, especially at 38.55, because this, like I said, was my bull bear line. This was a massive, and also potentially 3800 tomorrow, but these were the two I was like, we're either going to bounce off it or we're going to fail pretty decently. Steven Rolanda, do you still have, I'm going to lower your hands because I'm not sure if you guys have additional questions, but anyone has any more questions, raise your hand or type in the chat, or I'm happy to wrap up because I got plenty of things to do before my move. Okay, I don't see any hands raised. I don't see anything in chat, so thank you. Oh, wait, how do I assess tomorrow after a day like this? Did you join us late? Because I think I covered, yeah, I covered that earlier, so go back and listen. All right, so well, thank you everyone for joining. I don't know what the rest of the week, this might be the last one before my move. I'll keep you guys updated tomorrow. I gotta, after this webinar or after the 405 report, I gotta figure out, you know, where I am in packing and moving for the rest of the week. So have a good night, everyone, and hopefully I'll be around tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Bye.